Hey guys, how's it going? It's Nick, and today I'm back with another tech review. It's been a very long time since I last did a tech review, since September, and since we're currently going through a global pandemic right now, and I don't really have any better video ideas, I figured why not let's just do a tech review, because I really miss doing these. They were a lot of fun. They were stressful to edit, some of them, but they're still a lot of fun to make. And so today in this video we're going to be doing a review on the iPhone 6, and we're just going to see overall how it holds up in 2020 and if it's usable or not and whether it's worth buying or not, so all that good stuff. So before I begin the video, I just want to say that you can see that the condition of this phone is pretty bad. This frame's all scratched, the screen is cracked, there's a chunk of glass missing on the top right, and the home button is missing. So all I could say is the frame part, I didn't do that. But the last time I did the review in July, the screen was still intact. It was cracked, and the home button didn't work, but with Touch ID it still worked. Now, actually, a couple weeks after I filmed that, I dropped this phone in an OtterBox case, and that chunk of glass still managed to come off. I didn't say that right. And the home button thing was back in October. It just got loose and it just fell off, and I never found it. So I think we threw it away, but it did happen in my room. But yeah, I never found it. But other than that, the phone still works. The screen works. The camera works. I have to use Assistive Touch as a home button, but overall it's fine. I could still use it. I'm probably gonna sell this after I upload this video just to buy a better conditioned phone to add to my collection. But yeah, guys, other than that, that's enough of distractions. Let's begin today's video. So the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus were originally released in late 2014 and was Apple's first foray into the phablet market. Most iPhones before always used at least 3.5 inches and 4 inches, which was fine, but still wasn't too big. And in 2014, Apple made the iPhone 6, with much bigger screens, putting them at 4.7 inches. And also they made a Plus model, so they had two size options at 5.5 inches. So you had a variety here if you wanted at least something big but small, or just go all big. And these iPhones sold like hotcakes. They actually became the best selling smartphone in the entire world, with over 220 million units sold. That is an insane amount, and with that amount, they may never be surpassed, but that's how many people were really glad to have a bigger screen on an iPhone. But of course, Apple doesn't sell this anymore, and I think you can still actually find it in like stores like Walmart. Believe it or not, I've seen a bunch of these in Walmart, so yeah, they're still selling these. And yeah, I knew it was a 6, it wasn't a 6S, I made sure of that. I'm actually not even joking. But yeah, so let's just go over, the basics and everything else about it. So the first thing you are going to notice when you pick up an iPhone 6 is how light and thin it is. This thing is crazy thin. This is actually the thinnest iPhone that Apple has ever made, and I'm not sure if it's the lightest. I've heard that the 5S is, like all the phones with the 5 design, like the 5S, SE, are lighter than the 6. I don't know. I mean, I've used an SE and I've used a 6. Comparing them side by side, they're both equally thin. Or, I mean, not equally thin, equally light. The 6 is definitely much thinner. But, it's very comfortable to hold with the compactness, maybe on the smaller 6. The 6 Plus, you have to hold it with 2 hands. But it's still very light and super comfortable to use. Unfortunately, the thinness is not good for this phone in particular. Because if you guys remember, this phone is extremely acceptable to bending. And you guys have probably heard of the whole Bendgate fiasco back in the day. Yeah, the iPhone 6 were the phones that did this because Apple used a low-grade aluminum for this phone. And yeah, people were mad. And yeah, so if you do buy an iPhone 6, try to test it out, inspect it carefully. Make sure it doesn't have any problems, And if you do still own an iPhone 6, use a case, like a really strong case, and the phone will not bend on you, and also just maybe don't wear very tight jeans, I guess. But yeah, just overall, be careful if you have an iPhone 6. Bending is a possibility, and yeah, that's pretty much it. The bending also resulted in touch disease, which was a problem where the touchscreen would not respond anymore, and that was a problem. So again, if you have an iPhone 6 or if you're going to buy one, test it out, inspect it, and just be careful with it. Don't drop it. Put a case on it just overall so, it'll be in, good shape. Mine's not in good shape, but I'm going to sell it anyway, so it's not a problem for me. All right, that's enough of that. So the thing that was the most popular about the phones were the significantly bigger screens. These were the first iPhones to do that. And they also brought two size options with the regular iPhone 6, which was sized at 4.7 inches, maybe in case if you wanted something bigger but still something a little bit small, the iPhone 6, that was for you. And if you just wanted to go all out and, get the biggest thing, you could get the 6 Plus, which was sized at 5.5 inches. I don't have a 6 Plus, but as you can see here in comparison, I have it right next to my iPhone 8 Plus, which is the same size as the 6 Plus at 5.5 inches. Both phones do have Retina displays. The 6 is resolution is 750 by 1334 and has a pixel density of 326 pixels per inch. And honestly, it's good enough, even though it may not be an OLED, it's still an LCD and all that. It'll be good enough for pretty much anybody. The 6 Plus display had a resolution of 1080 by 1920 and pixel density of 401 pixels per inch. So quality will be a little bit better on the 6 Plus, but you'll be hard pressed to notice a difference. Even side by side, I couldn't really tell the difference. So the iPhone 6 actually doesn't look too old because the iPhone 8 and actually the newly released SE has pretty much the same design with a home button and bezels. And, the 6 does have Touch ID. The home button, again, since I don't have it, I can't really test Touch ID. But when I did used to have it, I did have Touch ID, so, I know what it was. So it was first generation Touch ID, and it was fine. I heard nowadays it's pretty slow, but it's always better than having to put in the passcode. So yeah, the new SE that was just released last week has pretty much the same design. But when you flip it to the back, that's when you can see the age with the aluminum, housing with the plastic antenna bands. Personally, a lot of people I know, they don't like this design. And people just find it old, but honestly, I actually like it. It looks really nice. Even though it's not very good quality because of the whole bending, it's still fine, Most people are going to put a case on it. But overall, just looking at it, I really, really enjoy looking at it. It's beautiful. Not as beautiful as the 5 design, but, I'll take it, The 6 design is still one of my favorites, and I really like it. And, I'm using it today with the 8 Plus, so yeah. The battery life on the iPhone 6 is not very good, but that is going to depend on, device to device, depending on how used it's been over the years. But since these phones are about almost 6 years old, most of these batteries are going to be pretty worn down. So the smaller 6's battery is sized at 1,810 milliamp hours. And yeah, from my experience, it's not very good. You are going to have to recharge it a lot during the day. When I used to own this, it had a lot of trouble, getting me through the day. The 6 Plus's battery might not be that much better because, while it is a bigger phone, it's still old. It's sized at a 2,915 milliamp hours. So, again, it may not be that good just because the phones are old. But honestly, if you have a brand new battery, then maybe they're going to be fine for you. Otherwise, you may as well get the battery replaced or just buy a new iPhone altogether. At the bottom of the phone, we have the Lightning port and speakers, which don't sound good in comparison to my 8. They sound awful, but at least it has a headphone jack, so I guess that's a worthy trade-off. Moving to the cameras, this is another part where we can see it's dated. Not that it's terrible, but it doesn't match, it's nowhere near as good as the newer iPhone 11. So the rear primary sensor, it has one lens. It's a single lens, and it's 8 megapixels, and it can shoot video in 1080p at 60 frames per second. So, it's fine. It's not that great. If you're in outdoor lighting and you have really good lighting, then you're going to get some pretty nice shots. I've used this a lot as a camera, and, I've gotten some pretty decent shots with it in the day. When you're out, taking photos at night or in low light environments, it's going to get a little fuzzy and noisy, and that's where you can really start to see the age of the camera. But, it's not bad, it's decent enough, again, for good lighting anyways. The selfie camera is also not that good. It has 1.2 megapixels, and it can shoot video in 720p at 30 frames per second. So yeah, it's not that good. But if you have, again, decent lighting, all that kind of stuff, then it's gonna be okay, and you're not really gonna have much issue with it. Again, the cameras on, both the rear and selfie camera are not that good in low light conditions. In bright conditions, and yeah, it's gonna look fine. And while the megapixel count might sound pretty low, it's actually not too bad, as you can see from this selfie right here. But yeah, my overall opinion on the iPhone 6 camera is that it's fine. For most people, it's gonna be fine. Most people don't need the best of the best, 4K video. That's the saying. It doesn't do 4K, but for most people, it's probably gonna be good enough for them. And anyways, I'll put up a few photo examples on the screen for you to see for yourself. This is being filmed on the iPhone 6 in 1080p at 60 frames per second. And it looks fine, It's not great, but for most casual use, it's more than good enough for anybody. Moving to the internals, this is one area where the iPhone 6 didn't age that well. It's not unbearably slow, mind you. I mean, maybe it might be if you have a bad battery. But I say it's not great because, it's not that much better than its predecessor. So it carries the A8 chip clocked at 1.4 gigahertz, and it has 1 gigabyte of RAM. Now, the single gigabyte of RAM is the problem here. So its predecessor, the 5S, got from iOS 7 to 12, which is 6 years of support. The 6 got from iOS 8 to 12, which is still a long time. It's 5 years of support, but it's a year less than its predecessor because of the single gigabyte of RAM. And yeah, overall, performance-wise, this thing is not that great, but it's fine considering it's on its last firmware. It could run up to iOS 12.4.6, and believe it or not, this exact firmware came out a couple weeks ago. So even though this device is no longer supported, Apple is still pushing out security updates for their older devices, which is something that nobody else does, so huge props to Apple for that. Now, when it comes to pretty much app support and all that kind of stuff, performance is okay at best. And when it comes to app support, you can pretty much download anything. All apps right now have a minimum required version of iOS 11. And since this version only came out like a year before iOS 13, which is our current firmware, it's not too outdated. There are a couple things you can't use, like dark mode and some other nicer features. But overall, it's totally usable in 2020, and it's more than acceptable. But this thing isn't the fastest thing anymore. As you can see by the Geekbench scores, yeah, this thing is pretty slow compared to newer iPhones. But it's not that bad, it's decent. So if you still own one of these, then it's going to be more than good enough for you. And considering the fact that this phone is from 2014, this thing is impressive in comparison to any other Android phone from that year. So huge props to Apple for the way they handled the iPhone 6 by, keeping it totally usable 6 years later and still supported with apps. So very, very impressive. Now, whether or not this phone is worth buying today, I take a hard pass. Because while it does perform okay, and it can be pretty cheap on eBay for around $50 to $100, it does tend to slow down a lot. And there are some phones around the same price tag that are fully supported. I think you should go for the 2016 iPhone SE. While it is significantly smaller, what you are getting for the same price as an iPhone 6 is a way faster phone with a way better 12 megapixel camera that can record in 4K, and it's on iOS 13 and may even possibly get iOS 14. If you're not really into the smaller screen, but you still want something even better without spending a lot of money, I'd recommend buy the 2020 iPhone SE that just recently came out. shares the same design as the iPhone 6 and the 8, and it carries the fastest processor, the A13, with 3 gigs of RAM, and is only $400. And that is a absolute steal of a deal. So if you're, a new iPhone user and you are trying to buy a really good phone, or if you're coming from an iPhone 6, then I just recommend, get the new 2020 iPhone SE. It's going to be worth it in the long shot. And yeah, overall, the iPhone 6, for all its flaws, it wasn't good. It was a good phone. And today it's still passable, even though it's no longer supported and it can slow down a lot, sometimes. It's still fine, it's not unusable. If you still have one, you might be okay, but I think it'd definitely be the time to upgrade now to the new iPhone SE, considering that it just came out and it's only $400. So, that's a really, really good price. All right, and with all of that, I think I'm pretty much done here. Wow, this is a pretty long tech review, 16 minutes long. It's probably my longest tech review, but hey, it shows that I am trying to slowly improve them than, the last times, I'm doing better. I'm going to have more tech reviews out. As soon as this video publishes, I might try to, sell my iPhone 6 and my old SE because the screen came off. And I took the screen off, and it's just the casing, so I don't see the point of just keeping it. So I'm gonna sell it and probably buy a better conditioned SE, kind of to make old memories, and maybe even my old computer, because no one uses it, and I'm slowly starting to run out of money. So I guess I can kind of help even when my next paycheck comes in. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I have to say. So if you guys enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate you guys giving me a thumbs up. This took me nearly 3 to 6 hours of editing. Well, I took breaks. I took a 2-hour break because I went dinner, and then I had to go to church. I watched church on TV. So about 3 hours. I've been editing for today it took me about 3 hours to film. Yesterday it took me about 30 minutes of filming, I'd say. So a total about 3.5 hours to film and edit. I wasn't really trying to rush this. I'm just kind of slowly, just saying what I have to do. The other times I've been kind of rushing them, but I didn't try to rush this one, even though it seems like I kind of did because I posted it the same day. But yeah, guys, again, if you guys like the video, I appreciate a thumbs up, because this did take me a long time to edit and film, so I'd appreciate a thumbs up. If you guys want to see more tech reviews, let me know in the comments down below. I'm definitely gonna make more soon. I really want to make more. And yeah, so I hope you guys have a good day, and stay safe and stay healthy, guys. Have a good day. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.